So anybody who is just logging on, again, it is Brittany with Scott Leray Marketing. And today we're going to be going over the website platform, but this is going to be our website 201 class. So today we're going to be covering how to add some custom pages, a mortgage calculator, a testimonial capture page, as well as a local school search. And then we will also be going over how to add some completely custom content using a Google Doc. So all of this is going to be done through commands today. So this is going to be our agent.kw.com platform. And then I'm just going to be logging in with my command username and password. That being said, I am using Firefox today. So I'm actually using the Firefox browser. You'll also notice in the top right-hand corner, I have that little mask. That means that I'm using an incognito or a private window. I tend to use Firefox for everything. You can use any browser. Generally, we have noticed that Chrome and Firefox work best, but if you're using a browser outside of that, that's completely fine. The only reason I mention my browser is there are a couple of things today that may provide a pop-up because of what I'm clicking. That is 100% based on the browser, and I will address it when it happens, just so you don't panic. But I'm going to go ahead and get logged into my command platform. Once we are logged into command, the first thing I just want to go over is going to be the marketing profile, just to make sure that everything is set up, that you guys have access to everything, that your branding is live. So we're just going to make sure that that is good to go. In order to access our marketing profile, we're going to go ahead and click on our name in the top right-hand corner. And then we're going to click on settings off of that drop-down list. And this may be familiar to most of you. You may have come in here and made edits already, which is completely fine. We're just going to make sure everything is good to go. Once you guys are on this screen, we're going to go ahead and click on Connect Settings. And then we're going to see Marketing Profile is nestled right underneath that. Once we click on marketing profile, again, this will likely look pretty familiar to most of you. This is where all of your marketing, all of your branding is going to pull from for all of your KW command platforms. So we're going to start with headshot. You'll notice that your headshot should be populating here. If you don't yet have an image, again, that's completely fine. That can be added in at any point in time, and it will automatically syndicate to most of your marketing. However, the website pages will need to be manually refreshed. This is also something that we can help with. If you're seeing that your headshot is distorted in any way, whether it's stretched or it's squished, just doesn't look right, chances are it was added prior to being cropped to be a square. So in order to add your headshot in here and in order for it to fit perfectly within that circle, it does need to be cropped to be a square before it is added. Underneath that, we have the team logo. You'll notice that the team logo looks a little bit wonky here. However, the systems are smart enough to automatically correct this on all of your marketing. So you don't have to worry about cropping the team logo to be a square. It will correct itself. The only one that will actually show up the way that it is showing up here is going to be your headshot. So team logo will correct itself. You don't have to worry about it. If you don't have a team logo, we generally recommend adding the realtor logo just because it gives you a little bit more customization instead of just leaving it blank. However, you can always leave it blank and you just wouldn't have anything that populates there. Underneath that, we have the My Details. This is going to be your basic information, first name, last name, license number, team name, all of that information should be populating here. That being said, for first name and last name, make sure that you are within compliance when you guys are adding this information in. If you go by a nickname, just make sure that your board or brokerage allow that and that your legal name does not have to be on everything. For your license number, you can either add the license number, the state initials with the license number, especially if you're with multiple states, you're licensed in multiple areas, you can plug that in as well. For your team name, if you're associated with a team, this is where you would add that information. If you're not associated with a team, you can put your name and then realtor, your name, realtor with Keller Williams, anything along those lines. What your team is going to do is it's going to essentially help brand your marketing. But on top of that, it's also going to be the name of the drop-down list on your website. So once we actually go to the website platform, this is going to be the name of the drop-down list with all of the pages that we will be be creating today. So having that with your, at least your name, realtor, something along those lines, gives you a little bit more customization available on your website. Underneath that, we have our professional job title. So for your professional job title, also make sure that you are within compliance. So if you are with a state or board that requires you to have something specific, for example, like licensed real estate representative instead of realtor, anything along those lines, just make sure that you're following the compliance for your area. We also have slogan. If your slogan is currently blank, you'll notice that we do have a red asterisk, which means that it is required. All I'm going to do for Lori is I'm just going to copy her team and paste that in. That way it's all set. You can also put an actual slogan in here if there's something specific that you want to use, whether it's team name or you want to put anything along the lines of like for all your real estate needs or looking to buy or sell real estate, anything along those lines, you guys can plug that in. Underneath that, we have designations. For designations, these are going to be any additional designations that you may have acquired while being a real estate agent. Maybe you just attended Bold or anything along those lines. You can plug those in accordingly. We also have military affiliations. For the military affiliations, if any of these apply to you, you would just select the one that applies. The second you select it, it's going to provide another drop-down list on the right that is going to have all of the branches. So once you do select this, you will have access to select the branch as well. If this doesn't apply to you, you can leave it exactly as is, and it will not show up on any of your marketing. For the next section, it is our bio. For the bio, it is going to populate exactly how you see it here on all of your marketing, which is something to keep in mind. So if you are looking to add your bio with line breaks or there's something specific that you want to populate, you can essentially add all of that formatting in here and it will syndicate out as such. So this is how it's going to show up on your website, on your profile. If anybody comes across you on the agent or the market center website, kw.com, your mobile app, all of these platforms are going to pull from this bio and this page. Down a little bit further, we have our contact information, starting with mobile and office phone. For the phone numbers, you can manually add in formatting. You do not have to, but you can add that in. If you want to add in the dashes or period or parentheses, anything along those lines, you would just type them right into the phone number itself. However, again, it's not required. As long as somebody is locating this information on a mobile device, the information will also be clickable. You don't have to worry about that, which is fantastic. For the email and website, a couple of things that I just want to mention. For the email, this is going to be whatever email you guys are corresponding with your clients through. That may be the KW email, it may be a Gmail email, or if you have a team email, doesn't matter. It's whatever email you guys plan on using when you're corresponding with your clients. That's the email that you guys are going to want populating there. For the website, if you are using the command provided website, and you're using the URL that ends in .kw.com, this is the platform that is provided to you by Keller Williams International. So it ends in .kw.com. Couple of things. First, you want to make sure that in this box, it starts with HTTPS // This is going to make your website clickable from all of your marketing that is viewed on a computer, on a mobile device, on an iPad. As long as they're pulling this up, it's going to show up on your profile as a clickable link, which is pretty cool. It's going to make it a little bit easier for your clients to get to your website instead of having to copy and paste it into a separate browser. Another thing I want to address with the website, if you're looking at it now and you're seeing www. And then you also have .kw.com at the end. If you're using the .kw.com website, it will not work with www. So again, if your URL is ending in .kw.com, make sure that you remove www. So as far as formatting goes, it should look exactly like my screen, starting with the HTTPS // your URL .kw.com. If you're using a custom URL, maybe you purchased one through GoDaddy or something along those lines, and you're unsure how to add it, feel free to shoot us an email and we can take a look and let you know the best way to get that added to your marketing, as it will vary based on where you purchased the domain. For your brokerage information, pretty straightforward. This is your office and all of their information. Your brokerage logo should be populating here. Same thing as the team logo. Looks a little bit funny right here, but it will correct itself on all of your marketing automatically. You don't have to worry about it. On the right-hand side, we have all of the brokerage information, address, name, all of that. Make sure that this makes sense. So in other words, if you recently transferred, or maybe you work with a business center, which is just a smaller office that might be linked to a larger office, anything along those lines, you're with a mega team, maybe you have a particular address that you work out of, anything along those lines, make sure that this information makes sense and that it is not your personal home address. Again, all of this information that we're tweaking is going to show up on all of your marketing provided by command. So we want to make sure that we're not accidentally giving out a personal home address. Underneath that, we have our compliance options. So for compliance, you guys have access to add a legal footer text, legal footer link, and legal footer images. That being said, when it comes to the text, I have not seen offices that require specific text. If you happen to have an office that does require something specific to be added to all of your marketing, that's where you can essentially paste that text in. Lori has taken it upon herself to put that she's licensed in 2 states there. That's completely fine. All that means is this is going to show up everywhere. Again, it's kind of like the ground zero for marketing and her one-stop shop to get those updates made. So this is just going to make it a little bit easier to get that added everywhere. For the legal footer links, if you're licensed in Texas, this is fantastic because this is how you guys can add your information about brokerage services and your consumer protection notices. So if you guys are licensed in Texas, make sure that that's showing up. Or if you guys just have a particular form or URL, a PDF, anything along those lines that you're trying to get added to everything, especially if you have like updated COVID protocols or anything like that, you can also plug that in. You just need to give it a title, and then you would plug the public URL into this section, and that will add it right to your footer. Go ahead and X out of that. And then we have our legal footer images. One thing to notice is that they show up very tiny. They're only 128 by 48 pixels, which is kind of like a thumbnail. It'll show up at the bottom of your website and the bottom of all of your marketing. If you don't have specific logos that you need to get added, you can also use this to add your designation logos. I've seen a lot of agents doing that and it looks really nice. So if you guys do have designations that you want to add, you can also plug those in as well. Finally, we have our social media platforms. A couple quick things for social media. Personal recommendation, I recommend making sure that you have a business page before you add this URL. Again, this is going to show up on all of your marketing, so making sure that it is tied to real estate in some way, shape, or form will definitely help in regards to the marketing aspect. So if you guys haven't had a chance to create a business page for Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, don't panic. We do have tip videos that go over how to create all 3 of them. But if you have already created a business page that's real estate geared for those platforms, you can go ahead and plug in the entire URL. In order to obtain that, you would just go to your actual profile, and then you can copy the full URL from the toolbar. For YouTube, as long as it's real estate geared, I would say definitely add your YouTube channel here. If it's not real estate geared, I would maybe just see if that's something that fits into your real estate career before you add it into your command marketing profile. And then for LinkedIn, any profile you guys create is going to be golden. They're all going to be business associated, so you're good. Last but not least, we have Google Analytics. If you haven't set Google Analytics up yet, again, don't panic. There is a tip video in the notes that I shared with you guys. They're also going to be hyperlinked under the recording if you guys need them later. But this is essentially a way for you guys to track the traffic of your website. Google Analytics is set up through a Gmail email, so you will need access to a Gmail email. Your KW email is a Gmail email, so that will work as well. And you essentially just set up the Google Analytics, paste the ID in here, and it will track all of the traffic of your command website, which is pretty cool. So if you guys are interested in setting that up, again, there is a tip video provided on the notes. If you guys made any changes at all, any tweaks, adjusted something, make sure that you are clicking save all the way down at the bottom. This is just going to lock everything in. And then once we do that, you should get this little pop-up just saying that your marketing profile is live. I'm going to go ahead and X out of that. And if you are one of the agents that was experiencing a website issue originally where your branding was not populating, in order to kind of refresh that, on the top right-hand corner, we have our use my information to brand my agent site. If you're seeing it as being green and you're still not seeing your branding populate, if you actually click that, essentially turning it off, And then you can go ahead and re-enable it. You'll get a little pop-up that says compliance reminder. It's just letting you know that everything on your marketing profile should be within compliance for your board and brokerage. But once you've kind of verified that, acknowledge and continue, it will allow you to just kind of toggle on and off your marketing profile. From what we have seen, that glitch that we were seeing previously with the websites not branding, as long as you kind of just refresh that, you should be good to go and it will resave it for you. Once you guys have confirmed that this is showing up now as a green bubble, we're going to go ahead and go into our consumer platform. So for the consumer area, it is the last icon on the left-hand side. And if you guys ever second guess which one it is, if you click on the white KW in the red square, it will label all of them for you, which sometimes makes it a little bit easier. Once we click on the consumer page, your screen may look similar to mine. You may have different pages, you may have different pieces of information you already have added, completely fine. One of the big things that we want to make sure you do have is that there is a clickable URL populating here. So if you guys are seeing a clickable URL here, it means that your base website has already been set up, which is perfect. That means that we can start building onto it today. If you're clicking on consumer, you're on this page and your screen looks completely different and there is nothing set up yet, you don't have any pages, you don't have a URL. What that means is your command website has not yet been made live. So you can certainly add the pages that we're doing today. However, you won't be able to add them to a live site because your website has not yet been created. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you are seeing that, I definitely recommend taking a look at our website 101 class. We can also help you with launching the original website as well. So if you need help with that, definitely just let us know. But for today, with the pages that we are going to be adding, what I generally do for the website 201 class is we're going to go ahead and we'll create all of the pages together. Then at the end of class, we'll go ahead and make them all live together. It's a little bit less jumping around for you guys, which makes it a little bit easier as well. So for today, we'll again be creating the pages and then we'll make them live at the end of class. So for the first page that we are going to be doing, and this is going to get very repetitive very quickly, so I apologize. But in order to actually create that page and to get into that editable platform, we're going to go ahead and click on create a new page in the top right-hand corner. Once we click on that, this is just going to pull up a pop-up, and every single page that we create today, it's going to be the same case. We are always going to be using the On My Agent site, which is kind of the default. You'll notice it's already outlined and selected, but we're going to be sticking with On My Agent site. And then we'll go ahead and click Create Page. So this is essentially your blank slate when it comes to adding custom pages. For today, like I said previously, we're going to be doing a testimonial capture page, a mortgage calculator, a school search, and then I'm going to show you guys how to add some completely custom content to your website. So we're going to be going over all of those today. As we start adding these pages, the biggest thing that I always recommend, whether you're doing a page that we've set up or a page that we've provided instructions for, or you're doing a completely custom page, always give it a name in the top left-hand corner. This is going to make it easier for you to locate the page down the line, especially when we go to make them all live after class, or essentially at the end of class. We'll go ahead and make them all live together. This is going to allow you to see which page is which when you're giving them an actual page name. So for the first one, this is going to be our testimonial capture page. So that's exactly what I'm going to call it. So I'm going to type in testimonial capture. And this is something that your clients will not see. This is more of a mental note for you. That way you can see exactly what page it is. Once you have a title added into your page, in order to actually move forward with any content at all on the page, a widget from the right-hand side of these widgets needs to be used. You'll notice if I try to go and save a page right now, it even tells me to publish this page, click Configure Widget button, and fill in all of the required fields. As of right now, it will not allow you to just add a text box. You do need to have an additional page or essentially a widget added. So that's just something to keep in mind when you start adding custom content. So as far as these widgets go, I'm going to do a quick breakdown of what these are and kind of what they're capable of doing, just in case you want to come in here later and add some additional pages. The first widget that we're seeing is the Meet the Team widget. This is something that we also go over in the team class, but this is how you can add your team to your website. As long as you are associated with a KW team, so whether you have a team within your brokerage, you're the rainmaker, you're an agent on a team, this team widget is going to pull all of the members of your team and their basic contact information and headshot from their individual command marketing profiles. So that marketing profile that we just set up, this widget will actually pull kind of like a brief condensed version of everybody on the team to a beautiful layout. That way you can kind of market the people that are on your team. It's pretty cool. It happens automatically. It updates automatically. It's pretty neat if you're associated with the team. We also have the agent profile. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's essentially a mock-up of the agent profile page that you likely already have on your website. This is kind of like the bio page. This page can be manipulated, and we will be manipulating it in a little bit. This is actually the widget that we'll end up using to add our school search page. We also have the contact form. This one is generally not used for anything, specifically because at the bottom of your page, there is an interested let's talk portion. The interested let's talk is a default on every single page that you have on your website. It is a part of the actual website template. So by adding a contact form to a page, knowing that there is also a contact form a couple inches under, we tend to not use this widget anymore, only because it's very repetitive. You also have your testimonial carousel and your list. One of the big differences between the carousel and the list is that the carousel is only going to allow 4 testimonials to essentially rotate on your website, just like a carousel. For the list, you can have up to 12. So it's just a difference in regards to how many testimonials you'd like to populate on your website. Both of these essential widgets, the testimonials list and the testimonials carousel, are going to pull based off of the lead capture form. That's what we're going to be using in a couple of seconds. But as long as a testimonial is captured using this page, it will actually allow you to then pull them to this page. The system will do it automatically for you. Next up, we have our company profile. If you did the website 101 class, this is the exact same template as the actual company profile page provided by the Kelly Guide on your standard website. Again, this can be manipulated, which is pretty cool. Same idea as the website 101. If you guys haven't watched it, all of your edits are done on the right-hand side within this section. And then this massive section is the preview, but you can also manipulate this one. Download My App. Download My App is a standard widget that does exactly that. It allows your clients to download your app from your website. If you haven't added this page yet, you can also add this in as no edits need to be done. You would essentially just drag and drop the widget and then save it, and then it will allow you to make the page live. It's just a pretty page that allows them to, with a clickable link, to then download your app branded to you as the agent. So that's kind of cool as well. So as far as the widgets go, keep in mind, these do have to be added in order to create any sort of custom page. So with today, where we're using the testimonial capture form, all I'm going to do is go ahead and drag and drop this over to my blank slate. And this will happen anytime you want to use a widget. You would just drag it over to the blank slate. The second I release my mouse, it will show up like this. And your screen should look exactly like mine. The gray overlay is completely fine. It just means that it hasn't been configured yet. Once you guys have your screen set up like mine, we're just going to go ahead and click on Configure Widgets on the bottom right. And this is going to allow us to make some edits to this platform. Once we are in this section, we're going to go ahead and click on the testimonial capture form. This is just listing the widgets that we already have added to our page. And now we have all of the edits that we have access to. So in other words, this is going to allow us to start adding in our information and making this page a little bit more of our own. So let's go ahead and put in for our team name. If you're not associated with the team, this is where you would just put your name. All it's going to do is it's just going to rebrand it a little bit and kind of add your name to how would you rate. It's also going to add it to would you recommend, but it's just going to, again, add a little bit more of customization to this platform. So if you're on a team, you can put a team name. If not, you would just put your name. I'm going to put Lori's name. Once I have a name added, we also have a headline. Headline is just going to replace our headline text right at the top of the page. That being said, for this, I generally recommend doing something along the lines of like leave a testimonial, leave a review, something along those lines. So that's what they know what they're doing. So I'm just going to put leave a review here. Underneath that, we have our description. For the description, that's what's going to populate right underneath our actual headline. That being said, I'm going to leave this as is. You'll notice that there's kind of like a gray text there. It will automatically keep this unless you start typing over it. If there's something specific that you would rather have here, you can type right over what's there and you have up to 200 characters to play with. For our review headline, I'm going to leave that as is as well. That's just right here saying, how would you rate your experience? And again, if you want to tweak that, you have up to 80 characters to play with. The next section is our review placeholder text. This is just the suggestion that is going to show up in the actual review box. Again, I'm going to leave it as is, but however, if you guys want to come back in here and tweak it, you can always change it down the line as well. It's essentially just letting the client know what you are looking for as a part of the review. So if there is something specific that you wanted them to put in there, they can, but you can essentially suggest it here. So really, once you guys have your team name or name and then your headline added, we're just going to go ahead and click on save and apply. We're all the way down at the bottom. And you'll notice that once I click save and apply, the updates that we have done are automatically showing up on the preview on the left-hand side. So my recommendation is just make sure that you guys have your title showing up, leave a review. You'll also notice that your name has been added into a few areas. So how would you rate your experience with Lori Godfrey? And then it says, would you recommend Lori Godfrey? And we'll add that information in for you. Once you guys have confirmed that's showing up correctly, we're going to go ahead and click on Save Changes in the top right-hand corner. And before we click anything else, we are today, again, going to be creating the pages, then making them live all at once. So when we're going through this, we're actually going to be clicking no. If you already clicked yes, don't panic. I'll walk you through how to get back. But if you are just doing one page down the line, you can always click yes, but where we are doing several pages back to back, we're going to click no and then make them live together at the end of class. So I'm just going to go ahead and click no. And then once I've done that, it brings us right back to our consumer tab. So if you guys did happen to click yes, if you just go ahead and click on the consumer tab itself, it will bring you right back to where we are. And you'll notice that as we start to create those pages today, they'll just add them right to the top of our list. And you'll also notice that they were added with a gray eyeball. That gray eyeball just means that they are not yet live on your website. So they're set up, they're ready to be added as being live, but they are not yet live because we clicked that no button. If you ever want to confirm whether or not a page is live, if you come into your consumer section, you'll be able to tell because the teal eyeballs are also clickable and these are live on your website. The gray ones, not so much. So these still have to be physically added to the website. But this is a great way just to kind of confirm which pages have been added already. For our next page, we are going to go ahead and add a mortgage calculator. And the process is going to be the exact same. We are going to go ahead and click on the create a new page in the top right-hand side. And then we're going to go ahead and click on my agent website and then create page. Once we get to this section, we're going to go ahead and give this one a name as well. I'm just going to call it mortgage. And once we have a title, what we're going to do is we're going to get the page set up. So as far as the page goes, we're going to kind of get the layout ready to go. That way we can paste the code for the interactive calculator right into this section. So this is going to be a little bit of a process. So to start, in order to get this going, we're going to be using the mobile app widget in order for us to be able to add some custom text. This is just the widget that will allow us to make this page live, as a widget is required when adding custom text. This is generally the one that I recommend, because not only are you able to add in your custom text, whether it's going to be another widget, an interactive form, anything along those lines. If you're embedding something, HTML, any of that information, you can add it above the mobile widget. And that's just going to allow your clients to not only see the content that you're adding, but it's also going to give them an option to download your app. So it's pretty much a double win. So for this one, all we're going to do is the exact same thing we did for our mortgage or our testimonial capture form. And we're going to drag and drop this over to our blank slate. And the second you guys drop it, it usually stays gray for a second, and then it will correct itself. And your page should look pretty similar to mine. Once you guys are seeing that widget is populating, we're going to go ahead and click on content blocks. It's right above configure widgets at the bottom of the page. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to be using the text box. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and drag this over to my blank slate. But before releasing my mouse, I want to make sure that the green line you guys are seeing above that app is showing up exactly there. So if you're dragging it over and that green line is showing underneath the widget, that means I'm about to drop this text box underneath that widget, which means the first thing people would see when they clicked on this page would be the mobile app widget. For this, we want the first thing for them to see to be the mortgage calculator. So we want to make sure that green line is above the widget before I release my mouse. So once I do that, you'll notice that the text box is added right above our widget, which means now when we add that code for our mortgage calculator, it's going to show up right above it. Now that our page is set up and ready for that code, I'm going to pull up the page on my screen. I'm also going to drop it in the chat. However, keep in mind, anybody who is watching the live class, or if you're watching the recording, I've also hyperlinked our website 201 notes, where all of the information is in here as well. So you guys have access to both options. I'll pull this up for you guys. So for the mortgage calculator, once we get to this page, all we would do is scroll down a little bit, and you guys will see the source code is kind of, it's step 2. It's tucked down a little bit. But once we scroll down, all we want to do when we locate this source code is just click copy to clipboard. And when you guys click copy to clipboard, it shows very quickly, it says copied, and that means that you are good to go. It means that you have that entire code and you are good to go. So if you guys click on that link, scroll down a little bit, copy to clipboard. And then this is essentially what it will look like. It's an interactive calculator, which is pretty cool. And it will allow your clients to kind of figure out what they can afford and allow them to then also come to you with questions, gives them an idea as what they're looking at. So once you guys have that copied, we're going to go back to our command tab. And then I'm just going to go ahead and double click my text here, essentially just get it highlighted, whether you want to highlight it, double click it, as long as you have it highlighted at the end. It's now going to allow us to, I right click and do paste. You can do a shortcut. I just think it's easier to right click and paste, so I make sure I'm pasting it into the right area. And then that will paste my code over that highlighter placeholder text, or that highlighted placeholder text. Once you guys have the code populating here, we want to make sure that this widget makes itself live. So in other words, we want to make sure this mortgage calculator looks correct. In order to do that, we're going to highlight this text. So you're just going to highlight the code. and I just dragged, highlighted. And then I'm just going to click on this little link button. And it should be right to the left of the size of the font. If I hover over it just right, sometimes it says link, but it's this icon right here. We'll go ahead and click that. And then you'll notice that the mortgage calculator kind of comes to life. You can now see exactly what it's going to look like on your website. Once you guys are seeing this populating, I just generally scroll down, make sure my mobile app is there. We're good to go. Everything's showing up correctly. Once you guys have made sure that this is populating, we're going to go ahead and click on Save Changes again. And then we're going to go and click on No. So again, we're creating the page, but we're not yet making it live. Once you guys have clicked that, we should be right back at this screen on our consumer tab. And again, we're seeing our mortgage calculator has been added, but it is not yet live on our website. Now, the last page we're going to be adding is going to be a school widget. So this is going to allow your clients to actually locate local schools in that area, which is pretty cool. And it's going to give them access to not only view the area that you guys set up, but it's also going to allow them to customize it. So this is fantastic if you also happen to work with relocation clients, or maybe you do a lot of referrals. Just because you set your widget to be, say, Sarasota, Florida, does not mean that somebody in Boston, Massachusetts can't actually use that same widget. They can type in their own location, which is pretty neat. So it makes it very diverse, and anybody within the United States will have access to locate schools in the area they are interested in. So in order to get that one going, we're going to do the exact same thing. Go ahead and click on Create a New Page. And on my agent site, you guys are going to be pros at this pretty soon. And then we'll go ahead and click Create Page. Once you guys get to this section, we're going to go ahead and give this one a name as well. I'm just going to call this School Search just so I know what it is. Once we have our title, this is the page that we are going to be using the agent profile to kind of manipulate. When we use the agent profile, what it allows us to do is we're going to be adding the code for this platform right into where the bio goes. It's just going to allow us to center it. It looks very clean. It allows it to kind of keep that formatting. So that's why I generally recommend using this instead of doing what we just did with the mortgage calculator. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and drag and drop our agent profile widget. And it's going to look exactly like your About Me page, which is completely fine. We are going to manipulate this to have other information. Once you guys have dragged and dropped this page over, we're just going to go ahead and do Configure Widgets, just like we did with that testimonial page. And then we'll go ahead and select the name of our widget. For this section, you can swap the image out if you'd like. Maybe you have like a cute picture of a school that you want to do or something along those lines. Just make sure that if you are using an image that you have the rights to use that image before you add it to your website. So for this one, I am going to leave it just as their headshot. That's completely fine. You can also use the KW logo if you just don't want your headshot to populate here. That's also completely fine. I'm just going to leave her headshot right there. For the page title, we're going to go ahead and call this one. I'm just going to put Local School Search. And then for the role and company is going to show up right underneath the name. I'm going to put search for schools in your area. So search for schools in your area. And this is all typed out for you guys in the notes as well. So you can just copy and paste if that's easier. And I'll go ahead. I'm going to drop that in the chat again for you guys, just so you guys have a fresh copy of it. just in case. For the bio, we're going to go ahead and just put a space. So I'm just highlighting it and I'm just putting a space. So you should only be using one character of the 100. All that's going to do is it's just going to kind of remove this where it is required and it has that red asterisk. We need to have something in there. So that's where that space is just going to allow us to override it. Scrolling down a smidge more, we have our bio. For the bio, we are actually going to delete the entire bio because this is where we are going to put our code. So for this, you can just either do Control A and delete it, or you can just kind of drag, drop, delete, hold down the delete button, backspace, whatever is the easiest route for you to end up with this. Essentially in gray, it should say enter agent bio ... And that means that your entire bio has been deleted. If you're not seeing enter agent bio ... it means that there is something lingering in that text box. So you want to make sure that you delete everything. Once you guys have done that, another way to make sure that it is completely empty is the second you click away, it will get angry and turn red. So once you guys see that, that means that your bio is completely blank and it is ready for us to plug that code in. So for the next page, I'm just going to drop that in the chat for you guys first. And I'm going to pull up another tab. I'll paste it right over this. And this is what it should look like. And I just dropped it in the chat for you guys as well. And it's also in the notes for anybody who is following along with the recording. This is the school search page. Once we get to this page, the first thing that it is asking us to do is to select our location. You guys can do this by zip code, a specific address, city and state, anything along those lines. I generally recommend city and state only because it seems to be a little bit more specific. So I'm going to go ahead and just select Sarasota, Florida. Once you guys select your location, you'll notice that your preview map actually updates based on the area that you type in. This is kind of giving you the exact preview of what is going to be added to your website. So this is essentially, these are the locations or the schools. They'll have access to go ahead and actually click on schools, which will give them a list. Then there's also a search tab that they can go into and say, you have somebody who's moving to California, you have somebody who's moving to Tennessee, Massachusetts, wherever it may be, they can locate their own area via that search tab, which is pretty neat. But this is what it will look like when it's on your website. For the height and width, we're going to leave those exactly as is. And then for our email address, we're going to give them email. So whatever email address you guys are using, that's the one that you want to add in. Typed in Lori's email. This can be your KW email. It's whatever email address you guys want to put on there. It's more so just to make sure that this isn't being manipulated outside of the rights. And then for the website URL, they just want the URL for the website that you guys are adding this widget to. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our site. Free real estate group. And then we'll go ahead and click agree to terms and services. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and get widget code, and that's going to allow you to pull up the code. Once you guys have added this page to your website, you will have access to see kind of what it will be able to do. Unfortunately, on the preview mode, it is a little bit finicky. So I definitely recommend adding it to your website, making sure that it's a live page, and then you can actually play around with it and see exactly what your clients will have access to. I'm getting a couple of questions in regards to what you can do on the actual app. Here, it's a little bit limited because it's just a preview. But once we do have this code, we're going to go ahead and highlight the entire code. And I'm just going to right click and copy it. You can also cut it. I know it says right here, cut and paste. They'll do the same thing. Once I have this copied, cut, whatever works, I'm going to go back to my command platform. And I'm going to click into my bio, and I'm just going to type in, and this is the greater than, less than symbol, center, and then greater than, less than symbol. Some people, I've had agents also tell me that they're called carrots, whatever you guys call them. It's a little triangles. Type in the word center. And then I'm just going to go ahead and paste my code right after that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that once more. Do my greater than, less than, my little bracket, center, and then do it once more and close it. What that's going to do is it's going to center this code. The mortgage calculator that we just did previously automatically centers, which means that no matter what type of platform your clients look at that page on, mobile, iPad, website, whether they're getting to this on a laptop, a desktop, whatever it may be, it will automatically center itself. The schools widget does not. So by entering that little bracket with center, it's going to keep it nice and beautifully centered in this section instead of left aligning it and having it show up over here. So it just makes it look a little bit more crisp. Once you guys have done that, we'll go ahead and do save and apply. And this is just going to plug all of our updates in. And you'll notice that the page will correct itself. It all of a sudden has the correct title. It has the little synopsis that we added in. It has the actual widget showing up. And keep in mind that as you guys are adding custom content, if there are custom pages that you decide to add down the line, this will also work with other options. So if you guys have like a custom page that has HTML, maybe it's a new construction page, maybe it's clickable links to something, HTML will work in that bio section no matter what it is. This is not specific to only the school app. So if there are some custom things that you're looking to add down the line, you can paste that in accordingly. Just keep in mind that the command website is not very friendly with JavaScript. That's really the only thing that it doesn't tend to work with. But HTML, any sort of widget along those lines, you guys can add that in. Once you guys have confirmed that it looks good to go, we're going to go ahead and do save changes once more. And then we're just going to go ahead and click on no once more. And someone just asked, bio title is required to have, so you would just put a space for the bio title. And then CSS, that will work. You guys can paste that in. That will work in a text box. It will work in the about me. It will work pretty much anywhere as long as you're either using a widget or piggybacking the page with a widget. So any sort of HTML, CSS, the only one that it's not really friendly with is JavaScript. We seem to have a little bit of issues with. So now that we have these 3 pages, we're going to go ahead and make them live. So if you are ever in a situation where you add a custom page to your website, you can either go into the page and then when you go to do save changes, click yes. Or if you're coming in through the consumer tab, you can come in, click on consumer, and then we go ahead and click on site and app settings in the top right-hand corner. All of your pages are going to be on the last tab, so agent site pages. I'll go ahead and click on that. And this is one of those Firefox specials. If you're not using Firefox, you won't see this. If you are, you just click on leave page and it will load. Once this section loads, what this is showing me is these are the existing pages on my website. So what we're going to do now is make the 3 pages that we just created live. For this information, my personal recommendation is to take a look at the notes that I just dropped in the chat. And if you guys are watching the recording, all of the pages that we just created for making the pages live, I have the title, the slug, the SEO for every single one of these pages to make it a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to be copying and pasting these from the notes. But if you guys just want to copy and paste on your end, it's hyperlinked right underneath the recording and then also in the chat for anybody in the live class. That way you don't have to physically type everything out. But in order to get that page added, and this will go for any page, this process is going to be the same. So if you guys add custom pages down the line, this will also apply. We're going to go ahead and click on Add Page. And then this is why it is so important to give them names, because if you guys didn't notice, if you don't give it a name, it's kind of like code. It's just like letters, numbers, dashes, periods, all over the place. So it's very hard to tell which page is which, especially when you do 3 back to back to back. So by giving it a name, this is allowing me to now check the bubble for my testimonial capture and know that I want to set this up with the correct verbiage for a testimonial capture page. So I'm going to select my bubble for testimonial capture first, and then I'll go ahead and click continue, and we'll just work our way up. So for testimonial capture, I'm copying the information from those notes. My page title is just leave a review. And then for my slug, I have leave -a review. For slugs, you cannot use spaces or special characters. However, you'll notice that by adding the dashes, which are allowed in a slug, you'll notice that it's a little bit easier to read than if we were to take that out. It kind of smushes it into one word. This allows it to be legible. So when you're sharing, say, this specific URL to a client, they'll be able to see, okay, this is leave a review. Then for our SEO, I'm going to paste in, tell us more about your experience with, and then you would just plug in your name or your team name into that section. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click save. Once you do that and you get your green ribbon, that means that your page is officially live on your website. And now we can go ahead and do the next one. Again, this gets a little repetitive, but you guys will be pros. Our next one, we're going to do our mortgage calculator. Same thing, we'll just select the bubble, and then we'll do continue. And then for this one, we are going to do mortgage calculator as our page title. And then for my slug, I'm going to do the exact same thing and add my dash. And with these lowercase, just because I think it looks a little bit nicer. Oh. So I have mortgage calculator, mortgage dash calculator. And then for our SEO, it is mortgage calculator to assist with the home buying process. I'm going to paste that in as well. And once we have our page title, our slug, and our SEO description, we're going to go ahead and click save once more. Our green ribbon, that means we're good to go. And then our last page. So we'll go ahead and click on add page. And then we're going to select our bubble for school search. And then continue. For our page title, we have local school search. For our slug, I just have school search. And then for our SEO description, search for schools in your area. And then once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and click save. Once I have all 3 of the pages that we've added live on my website, I can also go ahead and rearrange them. So for example, if I want my leave a review towards the bottom, maybe I want my content in the middle, whatever it may be, you can actually drag and drop these to be in whatever order you'd like. I always recommend doing save just in case, even though it does claim to save as you kind of drag and drop them. Clicking save just kind of reassures that you are good to go. Once these pages are live, we're just going to go ahead and go back to consumer. And I'm just going to show you guys how to essentially add in some customized content, how to copy and paste it right from a Word document, because I think that that's extremely helpful, especially if you have some custom content that you're looking to add to the website platform. So in order to do that, we're going to do this once more. And if you don't have content, you can definitely follow along. or you can just watch. If you don't have anything yet, don't panic. I just want to show you guys how easy it is to get custom content added to the platform. So I'm going to go ahead and click on create a new page once more. And then I'll go ahead and do on my agent site and create page. And then for this one, I'm just going to put test page in the top left-hand corner, just so I know that it is test and I'm not adding it to Lori's website. But as far as this page goes, the beauty of custom content is as long as you are essentially adding it into a text box, it will allow you to copy everything from a Google Word document. That is extremely helpful when it comes to adding any sort of custom content, whether it's a logo, whether it's a flyer, whether it's your previously sold homes or coming soon listings, anything along those lines. If you can get it into a Google Word document, you can copy and paste it to this system and it will show up exactly how it did in the Google Word document. So I'm going to go over that with you guys. So I have a test file already put together. Here. So this is just kind of like a test page. It just has a couple stock photos, some text. Essentially, this would be a perfect example for something like sold photos. In order to put this page together, just so you guys can understand how we got here, in order to put this page together, I pulled up a Google Doc, which is accessible to anybody with a Gmail email. This isn't something you guys have to pay for. It's just a Google document. You can even piggyback off of the website notes that I shared with you guys. And if you do file new document, it's going to give you guys a brand new Word document. It essentially hosts itself on your Google Drive, which is pretty nice. So you always have a carbon copy of it. But that being said, because of that, it actually allows you to customize this content. So you can add custom content, then copy from here and paste it to the website. And it will show up exactly how it shows up here. So when it comes to this information, in order to get text, I just typed it in and I tweaked it how I saw fit, changed the size, centered it, made it bold, made it italicized, whatever I wanted, kind of just tweaked it accordingly. When it comes to images, when you're adding an image and you want it to be showing up on your website, in order for it to show up as the actual image and not show up as a broken image, you would, on this document, very similar to a normal Word document, you would go ahead and click on the insert button and image, and I uploaded it right from my computer. So any image that you're looking to have added to this type of option, you would just make sure that you either have them in a folder on your desktop, maybe it's an image you just downloaded from an email, whatever it may be, you just want to make sure this is how you're adding it. So insert, image, upload from computer. That is going to make sure that this image shows up as the actual image and not as a broken link. Once you guys have added that information, you can essentially move things around. You can resize them. You can change pretty much anything you guys want. Very similar to a Word document. So you guys can change all of this. You guys can center them. You guys can move things around. You guys can flip the images upside down. Whatever you guys want, you can tweak it. Once you guys have that form, the way that you want it to be pasted in, all we are going to do is we're going to essentially be using shortcuts to get this information over to our command platform. So what I'm going to do on the command platform is go ahead and get my page kind of pre-set up so I can paste this in. So anytime we're doing custom content, I always use the download my mobile app, and I'm just going to drag and drop that. And then the exact same way that we did that mortgage calculator, I'm going to go ahead and click on content blocks right at the bottom. And I'm actually going to be only using a text box, which I personally think is fantastic, because if you have text and also images, trying to do text boxes to manipulate them with images, it's very difficult. But if you just paste everything into the text box off of your formatted Google Word doc, it keeps everything the exact same way. So images can be pasted in here as long as they are added to the Google Doc the way that we just went over. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop my text box, again, making sure that my green line is above the mobile app. And then I'll go back to my page. And now I'm going to use shortcuts. And this is huge. For some reason, it only works when you use shortcuts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm on a PC. I'm going to go ahead and click on Control A to select all. If you guys are on a Mac, I think it's Command A, but I'm not 100% positive. Don't quote me on that. But for a PC, it's Control A. It's essentially whatever your select all shortcut is for your computer. So I do Control A, and now I'm just going to do Control C to copy it. Nothing really happens. You guys can't see anything. I know it doesn't like flicker or anything, but just do Control C to copy the content of this page. Once I've done that, I'm going to go right over to my command platform, and I'll do, again, same thing as the mortgage app or the mortgage calculator. I'll highlight this text. So when I paste my text over it, it will delete my placeholder text. We don't need it to say insert your text here with all of my sold homes. So once I have that, I'm just going to go ahead and use the Control V, which is paste, and it drops in all of my information. And it's automatically centered. It will remain centered. When you zoom in, you zoom out, these will stay exactly like that. So that is just something to keep in mind when you are adding custom content. If you guys ever go to add an image or you have any sort of issues in regards to centering information or anything along those lines, if you're adding any sort of content like that, you can also do this via the paintbrush. So we can also center it that way. So I'm going to go over that process as well. If your information is not centering on this page, you want to make sure that you had centered it on the actual Word document, because that's also common as well. So you want to make sure exactly how it's showing up here is how it's going to show up on that page that you paste it to. So if you have it left aligned, if you copy it, it's going to be left aligned. If you have it right aligned, it's going to copy it and paste it just as such. So as long as you have it centered on the Word document, it will center when you paste it in. But once you come in here, say you want to change it up a little bit, or you're having some trouble with centering it, you can also do this through the paintbrush. All I'm going to do is click on the paintbrush icon. And then we're just going to expand dimension. So paintbrush and then dimension. Once we do that, I'm just going to go ahead and update the width. And I'm generally 1,000 will kind of cover it. And once you do it, you can kind of tell as well, because you'll notice it shrinks it. Generally 1,000 is usually pretty good when you're centering something specific. Once I've done my width as 1,000, all I'm going to do is on the right-hand side, I'm just going to type in the word auto. And then for my left-hand side, I'm going to type in the word auto. And that's going to drop my kind of my shrunk area that's only going to be 1,000 pixels. It's going to drop that into the center. So this is just something good to know as you guys start to add some custom content. If there's something specific you're trying to add, this is just one of the ways that you guys can do it. I personally think it's the easiest way to get some custom content added to your page, especially if you guys have like sold listings, or maybe you have like an open house coming up, or you guys are doing an event, anything along those lines. You guys can do this in a Word document, plug it in. And this is just another way to center everything. So again, 1,000, auto, and the second you click away, it will center it for you. And once I go ahead, I'll go ahead and actually save this and make it a live page so you guys can see it. Once you guys do have everything added, we'll do our save changes once more. This time, because I'm only doing the one page, I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And what that does is it drops me exactly where I need to be in order to make that page live. So that's the difference between clicking yes or no when you're saving those changes. So now I'll go ahead and just do add page, and we'll do our test page. And I'm just going to call it exactly that. Test page. And then I'll go ahead and save it. And now in order to see the full live website, I'm going to go and click on agent site pages, or you can just click on the consumer tab. Once we are here, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up her website. I'll right click it, open in a new tab. It may take a second because we just did a lot of updates on this website. But once it shows up, you guys are going to see a couple of things. First one being logo finally looks normal. So does the team logo. They're not squished. But on top of that, all of the pages that we just added are now showing up on the drop-down list. So as far as the pages that we just did, we did our mortgage calculator. And the first time you guys go to this page, it does take a second to load. Keep in mind, it just went live, so it does take a minute. That's not something that will always happen. Underneath that, we have our local school search. And for the local school search, you'll notice that you guys do have access to now click around. Then we have our leave a review. And as you guys start to capture reviews from your clients, you can then bring them over to the testimonial pages, either the carousel or the list, which we do have a tip video on. Then we have our contact page, which is just our normal contact page. And last but not least, we have our test page. And this is what it would essentially look like on your website. So that's just something to keep in mind as you guys start to add custom content. Again, last thing that I'm going to say in regards to the custom content, by doing it on a Word document, you have a carbon copy of it. So heaven forbid you accidentally delete a page or mess something up, click something wrong. You always have this carbon copy. So by copying and pasting from here, you guys will have continued access to this page. You can also keep building on it. So if you guys have sold properties, you can just keep piggybacking off of this page, go into that page, paste over the new information, and you're good to go. So you guys have access to make those edits as well. In regards to making an edit to a page, I'm going to show you guys that really quick. We always go over on this class. I apologize. But in regards to, say, the test page, if you have additional listings that you want to add, you can essentially go in here and just click edit, and you'll have full access to that text box just like you did originally, and you can just paste right over it. In regards to making edits to any of the widget related platforms, so more so like the testimonial capture or the school search, anytime that you go in here to make an edit, and we click on edit page, you always want to make sure that you're using the configure widgets to make edits. If you start to try and drag and drop on an actual widget, you will notice it distorts it, it kind of moves things around. So anytime you're editing something that is in a widget, click on that configure widgets, click on the name of the widget, and here's all of your editable platforms. This is where you can make all of your changes. Save and apply, publish page, and it automatically updates it. You don't even have to go through that site and app settings and agent pages section. The second you make your change and click save and apply and then publish page, the existing page that's already on your website will have that revision added immediately. So that's how you guys can make edits to pages. We did just have a quick question come through in regards to reviews. Can reviews be deleted? Reviews cannot be deleted. However, you can select which reviews actually show on your live website. It does not happen automatically. You do need to manually refresh the testimonial page itself, whether it's the carousel or the list, in order for the reviews to populate. So as you guys start adding reviews to the testimonial capture, whether you're the one doing it, whether the client is the one doing it, maybe you have a couple that are from like Zillow or a third-party platform that you want to paste in, you can add those in and then add the testimonial page, which will then allow those testimonials to populate. But that is pretty much it. I will drop the notes in the chat for you guys who are in the live class today. And then if you guys are watching the recording, the notes for today's class are hyperlinked underneath, and there's some breakdowns in regards to the pages that you guys have access to, some recommended pages that we have, and then some additional custom content options for additional pages that you guys may be adding, as well as some screenshots from what we went over today, just in case you guys get stuck. And then last but not least, there are just some additional tip videos at the bottom that go over some customized information that you have access to as well. If you guys have any questions down the line, or if you guys start doing something and get stuck, feel free to let us know. You're happy to take a look for you. And I hope that you guys have a fantastic weekend.